ever feel like you're running in place? Like you're putting in all this effort, but not really getting anywhere. That's kind of the vibe I get from Psalm 127. It's King Solomon, the wise one. Basically he's saying, hey, even with all my smarts, all my resources, I've learned one thing: human effort on its own just doesn't cut it.
It's really interesting how he makes that point, though. He uses these super everyday images, like building a house, guarding a city, things that back then everyone would have gotten right away. But they're also like totally relevant to us now, We're all trying to build something, right? Our careers, relationships, even just some peace and all this craziness.
Okay, so let's dive into the specifics.
Yeah.
Verse 2, that's the one that really hits home for me. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It's like Solomon saying, look, you can hustle all you want, but without, a higher power in the mix, you're basically spinning your wheels.
And it's not just any higher power either. He's specifically talking about the Lord, the God of Israel. That's important because back then, people had all sorts of gods, for everything, like protective deities for this, deities for that.
Right, like those ancient city walls. You've got guards posted 24/7, watching out for any threats. You'd think that kind of security would be enough. But even then, people knew they needed something more than just human strength, right?
Yeah.
They looked to their gods for protection, for success, the whole 9 yards.
And the psalm is kind of directly challenging that whole idea, this reliance on just any deity or magical force. Solomon's saying, nope, it's not about that. It's about recognizing the unique power, the authority of the God of Israel.
Which makes you think, what about all those other cities, those empires that put their trust in other gods? Like take Babylon, for example. They were this massive power known for their military, incredible architecture, the whole deal.
And yet they still fell. All that human effort, all those appeals to their gods, it just wasn't enough in the end. Babylon got conquered, which really drives home Solomon's point, right? Even the most impressive human achievements, they're still vulnerable without that divine protection.
So what does that mean for us today? I mean, like a wake-up call, isn't it? We get so caught up in our plans, like we've got it all under control. But this verse reminds us that there's a bigger picture going on.
Totally. And it's not about just sitting back and waiting for miracles to happen. But it is about acknowledging that, we're not the only ones building our lives, so to speak. Our effort matters, for sure. But it's aligning that effort with God's will. That's what really makes the difference.
So it's not about being passive. It's about working, you could say, in partnership with something greater.
Now you're getting it. A partnership. It's like
Go.
we bring the building materials, our hard work, the planning, the vigilance, like those watchmen on the city walls. But we also recognize that true success, lasting security, real fulfillment, that comes from a source beyond ourselves.
We see this play out in other stories from the Bible, right? Like when Nehemiah rebuilt Jerusalem's walls. There were all these threats, opposition all the time. But they didn't just sit around praying for a miracle. They worked like crazy, even armed themselves to defend the city.
Such a great example. They actively sought God's protection and took practical steps to keep the city safe. It wasn't one or the other, it was both. That divine protection, it worked through their actions.
So it's not like some let go and let God kind of thing.
Right.
It's more like, there's more to it.
Yeah, it's definitely more nuanced. It's about being responsible, making good choices, but also, recognizing we're not totally in control. You could say it's about, integrating faith and action.
Which just feels so relevant these days, right? It's like everywhere you look, it's all self-reliance, hustle harder, grind it out. And then this ancient wisdom is saying, no. It's about aligning our work with something bigger, a purpose beyond ourselves.
It's like a countercultural movement for your soul, right? Especially in a world that's so obsessed with individual achievement. Makes you wonder, though, what are the cities we're building in our own lives? I mean, where's our energy going, our hopes, dreams? Are we relying just on ourselves, or are we inviting God into that?
I like that image. We've all got these cities we're working on, right? Careers, families, creative stuff, even just trying to find our place in it all.
And just like those ancient cities, they need protection, not just from the stuff outside, but also our own, doubts, fears, limitations, like we were talking about.
So, okay, how do we actually do that? Apply this divine protection idea in our regular lives? Because it can feel kind of abstract, especially in a world that's all about logic and reason.
Well, I think it starts by recognizing that there's more to life than what we can see and control, that there's a power greater than us at work in the universe.
Right.
And then inviting that power in, not just when things are tough, but all the time.
So we're not ditching the to-do lists, meditation apps, all that.
Yeah. Not necessarily. Those are good tools. They can be. It's more about doing those things with a sense of purpose that goes beyond, well, just our own little view. It's bringing humility, a willingness to surrender to our work, recognizing, hey, I'm not doing this alone.
And that can look different for everyone, right? I mean, for some people it's prayer, meditation. Others it's connecting with nature or helping others.
Exactly. It's not one size fits all. It's about finding what helps you connect to that feeling of something bigger than yourself. And then trusting, even when things feel crazy, there's a force out there working for your good.
It's like we're not just building higher walls, but making sure there's a solid foundation underneath, right? We're building with, you could say, earthly A&D divine materials.
Oh, I love that. Because it's not neglecting the practical stuff either. It's about integrating that with a deeper, trust, surrender.
And that can totally change the game, because when we feel like we're in sync with a bigger purpose, it's like our efforts have a whole new meaning.
You got it. It becomes less about, just achieving our goals and more about contributing to something much bigger.
Which, I think speaks to this deep longing we all have, right? To matter, to have our lives mean something beyond just our own experience.
And connecting to a higher purpose, that's what gives us that. It gives our efforts, weight, meaning that goes way beyond what we can see on our own.
So it's not just about being successful, but actually feeling fulfilled. Even when, things are tough, there are setbacks.
Absolutely. When we're lined up with that purpose, it's not all about what we achieve or mess up. It's deeper than that, more solid.
Which has got to be a good place to be, right? A source of strength, resilience, something to help you through anything.
It is, because you know that even when you get tired, when things don't go your way, there's that force watching over you, guiding you toward what's good.
That is comforting. Even when we feel most vulnerable, we're not alone.
Not at all. And realizing that, it can change everything.
So let's think about our listener, right? They're probably juggling a ton of stuff, feeling the pressure to do it all. What does this mean for them?
It means, first of all, you're not alone in this. There's something bigger, a power that wants you to succeed, wants to protect you, guide you. And by inviting that power in, you can tap into, strength, wisdom, things that can help you build amazing things.
But it also means we got to do our part too, right? We can't just sit back.
Right, exactly. It's that partnership we talked about. We bring our effort, our planning, all that. But we also trust that something bigger is working right alongside us, guiding our steps, making sure those efforts, they're going to pay off.
So it's not about giving up our goals, but maybe approaching them with a different, mindset. One that's grounded in humility, surrender, trust.
It's a shift, I think, from me to we, from just trying to achieve stuff on our own to a sense of, everyone flourishing together.
Which is kind of radical when you think about it. I mean, the world is all about self-reliance, right? Doing it all yourself.
But it's an idea that can bring so much more purpose, meaning, fulfillment to life.
So instead of just building our own little empires, it's like we're invited to be part of something way bigger, more meaningful.
We're invited to become, you could say, co-creators with the divine, to build these cities that reflect not just our own little vision, but all the amazing possibilities of a universe filled with love, grace, purpose.
That's a pretty incredible invitation.
It is, and it's open to everyone.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Psalm 127, it feels like we've uncovered some pretty profound stuff about success, security, that sense of fulfillment.
It really is amazing how a verse written so long ago can still speak to us now. It's like a timeless message about aligning our efforts with a bigger purpose.
And it's not just some vague idea either. We saw how this played out with Nehemiah, even with empires like Babylon. There's real power in this idea that success comes from partnering with something beyond ourselves.
And that power is available to everyone. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you believe, what's going on in your life right now. It's like an open invitation to tap into this source of strength, wisdom, guidance, something to help us get through anything.
Almost like a secret weapon, right? But hidden in plain sight, we spend so much time trying to figure everything out on our own.
Yeah.
And all along, there's this incredible resource just waiting.
And it's not about giving up or being passive. It's about approaching our work with humility, with surrender, realizing we're not doing this alone. It's about aligning our will with a higher will, trusting that there's a plan, something bigger than what we can see.
So going back to our own lives, those areas where we're building, creating, trying to make something meaningful, I think we have a new way to look at it all.
Yeah, it's like a new lens, one that lets us see past the immediate stuff, the challenges, doubts, all those things that hold us back, and instead connect with a source of strength, inspiration, something to push us forward.
It reminds us that we're not just building for ourselves, but for something much bigger, something that lasts. We're part of this story that's been going on for centuries. And what we do, even if it seems small, it can contribute to something truly amazing.
So as you go about your week, building your houses, so to speak, guarding your cities, I want you to ask yourself, are you relying just on your own strength? Or are you inviting that higher power into the process? Because like King Solomon said, unless the Lord builds the house, all that work is in vain. And unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman is staying up for nothing.
That's something to think about, isn't it? It's a simple verse, but it holds the key to unlocking a level of success, security, fulfillment, things we could never achieve on our own.
It reminds us that we're not alone in this journey. And that's pretty incredible when you think about it.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep building, keep watching, and keep trusting that you're not alone in this grand adventure we call life.